The world knows the name. Alexander. He walked across the known earth and burned it. He built cities where there were only deserts. He defeated armies 10 times larger than his own. He was 32 years old when he died. His body vanished. For 2,000 years, historians argued about where he fell. They argued about who he was. The textbook version is clean. It is simple. It says Alexander was the pinnacle of Greek civilization. He was a Greek king who spread light to the barbarians. He was pure. He was distinct. He was the hero of the West. This story sits in every school book. It paints him as a golden figure standing apart from the messy world around him. It says his bloodline was special. It says his ancestry was clear. That was the textbook version. Then a lab in Thessaloniki tested a specific thing. They did not test Alexander. His bones are gone. They tested the bones of his father. They tested the bones of his relatives. They tested the dirt where his army slept. The results did not match the story. The screen in the lab flashed green. The number printed out. It was not what the historians expected. The genetic code told a different story. It told a story of movement. It told a story of mixtures. It told a story that made the clean version impossible to hold. That was the first crack. But when they tested more samples, the pattern got stranger. The crack started with a number. In 2010, a team of geneticists looked at ancient remains from the region of Macedonia. They wanted to find the root of the dynasty. They wanted to see if the Macedonians were truly Greek or something else. The myth says they were distinct. The myth says they were northern cousins to the Athenians. The DNA said otherwise. The analysis showed a haplogroup that appeared in the Bronze Age. It appeared in the steppes. It appeared in the mountains far to the north. This was not the genetic signature of the Southern Greeks. This was a signature of movement. It was a signature of people who walked down from the hills. The specific number was a percentage. 70% of the ancient samples matched this northern profile. The Southern Greek profile was only 30%. This meant the ruling class of Macedonia was not genetically identical to the people they claimed to protect. It meant Alexander's ancestry was a blend. It meant the hero of the West was built from the genes of the North. This fact made the myth impossible. You cannot be the pure symbol of a civilization if your blood tells a story of migration. It raised a question. How is that possible? How did the king of Greece carry the genes of the barbarians he fought? That was the first crack. But when they tested more samples, the pattern got stranger. The evidence began to build. It did not come from one place. It came from 6 different sites. Each site added weight to the finding. Each site removed another piece of the golden statue. The first piece of evidence came from Vergina. This is the place where the Macedonian kings were buried. In the 17th of November, 1977, an archaeologist named Manolus Andronikos found a tomb. It was sealed. It was untouched. Inside was a gold larnax. Inside was a bone. The bone belonged to Philip II. Philip was the father of Alexander. If Alexander was pure Greek, Philip should be pure Greek. The team took samples from the remains. They used a method called ancient DNA extraction. This method is delicate. It requires cold rooms. It requires white suits. The air must be clean. Any modern skin cell can ruin the test. They drilled into the tooth. They pulled out the genetic material. They compared it to samples from Athens. They compared it to samples from Persia. The result was a bridge. The Macedonian DNA sat between the Greek and the Northern European. It was not fully one. It was not fully the other. It was a mix. This was evidence 1. It was interesting. It suggested the dynasty was not isolated, but that wasn't the only surprise. Evidence 2 came from the battlefields. Alexander fought many battles. He left bodies in the ground. In 2008, Researchers looked at mass graves from the era of the Dyadyls. These were the successors of Alexander. They fought after he died. They fought over his empire. The graves were found in Greece. The bones showed signs of violence. They showed signs of movement. The isotopic analysis told where the men ate. It told where they drank. Many of the soldiers were not from Macedonia. They were from everywhere. But the officers were different. The officers shared a genetic marker. This marker was rare in the south. It was common in the north. This confirmed the dynasty was distinct from the people they ruled. The kings were northern, the people were southern. This created a tension. Alexander claimed to unify Greece, but his blood said he was different from the Greeks. This was evidence too. It was surprising. It showed a class divide written in bone. But that was just the first sight. The next one was worse. Evidence 3 came from the modern population. Scientists cannot always test ancient bones. Sometimes the bones are dust. So they test the living. They test the people who live in Macedonia today. They test the people who live in Athens today. They look for the ancient markers. They look for the haplogroups that survived. The study showed a continuity. The people in northern Greece today carry the northern markers. The people in southern Greece carry the southern markers. This means the migration did not stop. It means the blend happened long before Alexander. It means Alexander was not a change. He was a result. He was the product of centuries of movement. This changes the story. It stops the story of a single hero. It starts the story of a population shift. This was evidence 3. It changed everything. It moved the focus from the man to the people. But that was just the third sight. The fourth one brought the science closer. Evidence 4 came from the chemistry of the bones. DNA is not the only test. There is stable isotope analysis. This test looks at what the person ate. It looks at the nitrogen in the bone. It looks at the carbon. If Alexander ate mostly grain, the number is low. If he ate mostly meat, the number is high. The remains from Vergina showed high nitrogen. This means they ate meat. They were high status. But the carbon signature showed something else. It showed they ate grain from different regions. It showed they traveled. It showed they did not stay in one place. This fits the story of the army, but it also fits the story of the ancestry. If your food comes from many places, your genes might too. The chemistry supported the DNA. The body told the same story as the blood. This was evidence 4. It connected the diet to the genes. But that was just the fourth sight. The fifth one challenged the history books. Evidence 5 came from the historical records themselves. The writers of the time called the Macedonians different. Demosthenes called Philip a barbarian. He did not call him a Greek. He called him a threat. The DNA supports this insult. It supports the idea that they were not the same. The genetic distance between Macedonia and Athens was real. It was not just political, it was biological. The history books say Alexander united Greece. The DNA says he united two different groups. He bridged a genetic gap. This is a deeper truth. It is not about glory. It is about biology. This was evidence 5. It linked the words to the bones. But that was just the fifth sight. The sixth one closed the loop. Evidence 6 came from the burial rites. The Macedonians buried their kings differently. They used different pots. They used different weapons. The DNA matched the culture. The genetic group matched the artifact group. This means the people and the things moved together. It was not just trade, it was migration. It was people walking with their pots. This confirms the movement. It confirms the northern origin. This was evidence 6. It tied the culture to the genes. The evidence seems overwhelming. The picture is clear. Alexander was northern. The Greeks were southern. He was a blend. But there is one problem nobody expected. That problem is the twist. The DNA tells a story, but it does not tell the whole story. A haplogroup does not equal a nationality. This is the key nuance. You can have the genes of the North and speak the language of the South. You can have the blood of the barbarian and write the poetry of the Greek. Alexander spoke Greek. He read Homer. He loved the Greek gods. His genes were mixed. His culture was Greek. This complicates the new story. It stops us from saying he was not Greek. It forces us to say he was a new kind of Greek. He was a Macedonian Greek. This is different from the Athenian Greek. The DNA proves the mix. It does not prove the identity. Identity is chosen. DNA is inherited. This is the contradiction. The lab can find the father. The lab cannot find the soul. The science shows the movement. It does not show the belief. Alexander believed he was Greek. His enemies said he was not. The DNA says he was both. This changes the view. It stops the binary. It stops the fight between Greek and barbarian. It shows a spectrum. That contradiction changes everything. And 5 dig sites across 3 continents prove exactly how. The deeper dig starts with the first case study. The site is Vergina. It is in northern Greece. It is the heart of the Macedonian myth. In 1977, the tomb was opened. The world watched. The gold shined, the bones waited. For decades, the bones sat in a museum. They were not tested. People feared damaging them. People feared the truth. In 2010, the permission was given. The team was led by Greek scientists. They worked with international labs. They took small samples. They did not take much. They respected the dead. The results came back slowly. The first test failed. The DNA was degraded. The sun had burned it. The heat had broken it. They tried again. They used a new machine. The machine was more sensitive. It could read broken code. It found the sequence. It matched the northern haplogroup. It matched the R1b line. This line is common in Western Europe. It is rare in southern Greece. This was the first confirmation. The king was not southern. The king was northern. But that was Vergina. The next site told an even stranger story. The second case study is the Battle of Chaeronea. This battle happened in 338 BC. Philip II defeated the Greek alliance. Alexander was there. He was 18 years old. He led the cavalry. The battle was bloody. Thousands died. They were buried in a mass grave. Researchers found the grave in the 19th century. They found it again in the 2000s. They tested the bones. They wanted to know who fought. They wanted to know who died. The bones showed 2 groups. One group was local. One group was foreign. The foreign group had the northern markers. The local group had the southern markers. This proves the army was mixed. It proves the clash was genetic. It was not just political. It was 2 populations hitting each other. The DNA survived in the teeth. The teeth told the tale. The victory was northern. The defeat was southern. This marks the shift. This marks the change in the region. The power moved north. The genes moved south. That was Chaeronea. But the third site moved further east. The third case study is in Egypt. Alexander died in Memphis. He was buried in Alexandria. His tomb is lost, but his soldiers stayed. They settled in Egypt. They built cities. They married local women. They left bones. In the Fayum region, researchers found graves from the Ptolemaic period. This is after Alexander. This is his successors. The DNA here is a mix. It is Greek. It is Egyptian. It is Macedonian. It shows the spread of the ancestry. It shows the blood did not stay in Greece. It moved. It blended. It changed the population of Egypt. The rulers were Macedonian. The people were Egyptian. The DNA shows the hierarchy. The rulers kept their markers. The people kept theirs. But over time, they blended. This shows the legacy. Alexander did not just conquer land. He conquered genes. He moved his people into new lands. This is a biological empire. That was Egypt. But the fourth site went back to the source. The fourth case study is in the steppes. This is where the northern genes came from. The Yamnaya culture. These people lived in the Bronze Age. They lived in the grasslands. They moved west. They moved south. They brought the haplogroup. They brought the wheel. They brought the horse. They entered Greece. They became the Macedonians. The DNA links the steppes to Virginia. It links the grass to the gold. This is the deep root. It shows Alexander was part of a wave. He was not a single event. He was the end of a migration. This connects him to the wider world. He is not just European. He is steppe. He is Asian. He is a bridge. This widens the story. It makes him global. That was the steppes. But the fifth site brought it home. The fifth case study is modern Macedonia. The people live there today. They carry the history. They carry the markers. Studies show they have high levels of the northern haplogroup. They have high levels of the Bronze Age marker. This proves continuity. The people did not vanish. The army did not disappear. They stayed. They became the farmers. They became the neighbors. This links the past to the present. It makes the history real. It makes it personal. The viewer can look at their own genes. They can see the map. They can see the movement. This is the power of the science. It connects the dead to the living. Every site pointed the same direction. The full picture is more disturbing than any single finding. The reframe is here. What this means is simple. History is not static. It moves. People move. Genes move. The idea of a pure civilization is a myth. Alexander was not pure. He was a product of the world. He was a product of migration. This changes how we see the past. It stops the idea of fixed borders. It stops the idea of fixed races. It shows a fluid world. It shows a world of contact. This is the intellectual payoff. The tweetable insight is this: civilization is not a bloodline. It is a meeting point. Alexander was the meeting point. He was where the north met the south. He was where the steppe met the city. This is what the DNA proved. It proved the mix. It proved the movement. It proved the blend. This changes our understanding of greatness. Greatness is not purity. Greatness is adaptation. Alexander adapted. He took the Greek culture, he took the Persian culture, he took the northern genes. He made them work. This is the new understanding. It is more human. It is more real. It is less golden. That is what the DNA proved. But there is one thing nobody can explain yet. The question remains. The DNA tells us where he came from. It does not tell us where he is. His body is missing. His tomb is lost. We have his father. We have his relatives. We do not have him. This is the open loop. Where is Alexander? The science can find the ancestry. It cannot find the grave. The grave is the final piece. If we find the grave, we can test the bone. We can confirm the haplogroup. We can see the disease. We can see the poison. Some say he was poisoned. Some say he was sick. The DNA could tell, it could find the bacteria, it could find the toxin. But we need the bone. We need the tomb. Archaeologists are searching. They are using ground radar. They are using satellites. They are looking in Egypt. They are looking in Greece. They are looking in Iraq. The search continues. The science waits. This is the mystery. It drives the field. It drives the viewers. It drives the comments. You should subscribe to follow the search. When the tomb is found, we will be here. We will test the bone. We will tell the truth. But until then, we have the questions. The open question is for you. What do you think defines a civilization? Is it the blood? Is it the language? Is it the law? If Alexander had the genes of the North but the heart of the Greek, Who was he? The DNA says mixed. The history says Greek. The choice is yours. The science gives the data. The human gives the meaning. This is the debate. It is not over. It will not end. New bones will be found. New tests will be run. The story will change. This is how history works. It breathes, it lives, it updates. Thank you for watching. The next video will cover the plague of Athens. The DNA there tells a story of death. It tells a story of survival. It is waiting for you. Click the link. Read the sources. Check the data. The truth is in the bone. The truth is in the dirt. The truth is waiting. Go find it.